Okay, so first thing you do is you drill a couple holes in the tub and you get some sort of a concrete stake, strip out some wire, tie that stake to here, strip another piece of wire, go here, go all the way around. Same thing right here, just kind of tie it off right here. That's the positive side. Then you can get any kind of metal here, and that's your ground. Right here is your ground. So then you take the wire from here down to the piece that you're gonna put in this tub and tie it off to that. I'm kind of cheating, so I have two pieces in here. Just gonna want to get it done, and so I actually had to kind of tie them apart. But this is a really old griddle that it's some old Griswold. I'm gonna try and clean it up and see what it looks like, and then some sort of a little I'm not sure what yet, but it's just a little old tiny cornbread stick pan. So anyway, so I hook up 12 volts positive to here, 12 volt battery charger, 12 volts to here, and then that's going to go to there. So it's going to create a charge across the deal here, and then I'm going to hook the negative piece to here. Negative terminal goes to here. Negative clamp goes to here, positive goes to here. I'm just gonna run it at 2 amps for probably 24 hours or so. I'll check it tomorrow. And then I just have these are kind of hillbilly clamps just for the piece of wood to hold across there so nothing gets all together. So anyway, so then you fill this thing up with water. Then you put this in, which is like Arm & Hammer baking soda, but it's called super washing soda. And it's just soap. And you put in like I think a cup per every 8 gallons or something, maybe a little less than that, and then that's it. Turn it on, let it rip. All the rust will go right to these these are like sacrifice rods, kind of like it's going to be the anode in this whole operation. So the electrical current pulls towards these poles on both sides of the tank, and then all the rust comes off of this and it goes right onto here and collects. And then after a while you can pull this up, scrub it with a brush, and then clean it up, dry it off, oil it up, and get ready to re-season. I'll show you later. So I put about this much water in this thing. I cover it all just to make sure that it's covered. I don't want to get anything that's like up near the top of those tie-offs, but you can see I'm just about ready to finish this here. And then that's, I already put some soap in. I put like 4 cups. I don't know if that's good. That should be good. It looks like plenty. It's not really scientific. It just needs to have it in there. And I know people will disagree with me, but that's what it seems like is about right. So there, I'm gonna finish that. I'm gonna leave it in there just for 15 seconds, and then I'll turn it off and I'll go hook it up. Recap, here is the electric connection. So the positive, or the red one, goes there. The negative one, or the black one, goes to there. And that's actually making the circuit. I have this down here at about 2 amps. This is a regular old battery charger, and I have it on hold. So what that means is that it's not going to shut off. Most of these are on timers, so I got this one on hold. And be careful if you decide you want to try this, to make sure that your battery charger isn't what they call a smart battery charger, because a smart battery charger will shut itself off after it thinks that it's done its job. These are actually manual. This is just a regular old battery charger you have at home. So most of this stuff actually you have at home, so, or some people do. And this is something that I'm going to check this with some battery with a voltmeter to make sure that I've got this going, but it should work, and I'll show you the finished product later. Okay, so last thing, you can check this with a voltmeter. I did, but a good indication if you don't have a voltmeter is after a few minutes you'll start to see this thing boiling up a little bit, like that. Rust is starting to come. And one thing you definitely don't want to do, you definitely want to really do this outside if you can. If you can't, then put it in your garage and put a fan on it, because this thing starts to build up. It actually can ignite. I mean, it's a rare chance, but it could. So you definitely want to do this in the open air if you can. I'm under a patio, it's winter time, so we're just trying to do what we can to keep it out of the weather, and but that's a sign right there that it's all working good. So I'm just cooking a little pancakes. This one turned out pretty good. It's got a little crack. I'll show it to you later. But first cook, looks good. All right, so here's the final part of the video. This is the griddle I just finished, and it's also the one you saw just a minute ago cooking pancakes. This is the one that we started out with the video in the tub, and it turned out pretty good. It's a Griswold. It's made around 1905 to 1915. This one actually has a crack that showed up after we cleaned it, but it doesn't affect it. I mean, with griddles, it doesn't matter that much because you're not necessarily putting liquid in them. So that actually is gonna be a great cooker. This thing worked really well. This is a second one that I just got. I'm gonna have to work on it. I mean, I just opened it up here 15 minutes ago. This is an early generation Erie. Erie is the stamp that was put on a lot of these cast iron. Here's a bunch of cast iron right here. And the Erie, just the name Erie, was the original predecessor to Griswold, which is what everybody hears about, but that was actually made by the relatives in the early part of the cast iron skillet era. That was, I think, a nephew and cousins and uncles. And they originally, instead of putting Griswold on there, they just stamped Erie. So those are the kind of rare ones, and they're pretty collectible. So they're actually my favorites. I'm gonna go through some of the stuff here that I'll show you that we have that, we don't collect this stuff, we just actually get it to use. So I'm not a seller of this stuff. So anyway, here's a griddle. This is just for eggs and whatnot. It's kind of a nice little handy one. This is made by Wagner. It's a different brand. We'll talk about that here in a second, but this one's kind of handy. It's okay. This one here is one of my favorites. I've had this just a little while. This is a fancy handle. They call it fancy handle, and it has only one spout. This is probably 1860s. It's gate marked, which means you can see that ridge going across there. That's really a hand pour setup, and it's got some flaws in it. And then it also has, I wanted to talk about this right here. See all this? This has actually been on a stove, either a coal stove or really hot wood stove way back when. So this thing's been arguably, possibly, there's no way to tell, in use by somebody since probably the Civil War era, maybe just right after it, but not much. That's a really old one, and I use that almost every day. This here is another Erie, which is, I think, second generation. It says Erie on the back. You can barely see it. And this one here is a great number 8 that I use constantly. That's probably 1885 to 1886 to 1892 or so, something like that. This one here is by a company called Marion, Indiana, that actually was making, they made stoves, and they also then made their own stuff. But the curious thing is that they bought molds from Erie, and you can't see it probably, but this one here has ghost marks, which means this is an old Erie skillet mold used by Marion to sell their skillets. And I think that the date on this is about 1890, 1891. This is a Wagner first generation. This here, because you can see it's in block, nothing else on it except for number 8. And it has an outside heat ring. This is the first generation. I haven't used this one much. I've just got this, I don't know, 6 months ago. It's been restored, It hasn't been cooked in a lot since then. I'm gonna use this probably for my RV or something, just take it camping. And it's super old and it's nice and light. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I just needed a pan to throw in my RV, and I didn't want to use something that I use every day. So, and then this is another really nice one. This is a 2nd generation Erie outside pan, and how you tell those, and we don't need to go into it that much, but that is how you tell with the markings, with the quotations, and with that piece there that you see where the handle meets the skillet, and then also these ridges around here. This is a great handy one. This is a number 9. And then, so that's about it. Anyway, I think I'll probably end up with this one here that you saw on the video. I'll probably end up giving this to somebody, but it turned out great and it was a fun project. Thanks for watching.